Hey y'all, it's Betsy with Happily Ever After, etc. and welcome back to another garden tour. So I just planted a lot of pretty summer annuals and perennials, actually more perennials than annuals this year. A lot of the annuals I'm growing have been from our overwintering milk jug project, and we planted those out last week. And then yesterday I planted 4 or 5 different new perennials in the garden. So we're getting a thunderstorm tomorrow. It's supposed to rain all weekend, which is why I've been trying to get everything in the ground. Wanted to get watered in really nicely. But I figured now everything's in the ground, we're about to get watered. I'm going to go ahead and do our April garden tour before the rain washes off some of the blooms, because things like the ranunculus and the wisteria, that the blooms are a little more fragile, I do sometimes lose in hard rains. So before the rain comes, let's see what we get. We're going to start down by the shed because I have been working on it. It's not done, but it's getting there. Come on, Biddy, let's go. Biddy might have gone inside. There we go. Come on. Good girl. All right, so it's still a work in progress. I'm working on clearing out this pile as I fill up the raised beds. It is the bottom layer before we put the dirt. So big sticks, little sticks, leaf mulch, dirt. It's a whole process. I will link to the video below where I show you how I fill everything in. But the goal is remove the pile. I have some sage I'm going to plant here that gets really big and beautiful. And then a rose of Sharon. So 3 things to go behind my bench that get really big and pretty. I'm not going to plant a whole bunch over here, but I want something, especially because when you're down at the opposite side of the garden, this is like the end vista. And so I want just something that kind of stops your eye without having to put in another whole garden bed. So little seeding, going to continue this path right down. I want my pea gravel path to go straight down to the shed. So as you can see, I need to fill these front 6. Goal is to at least get the paper and sticks in them this weekend. That way when I can afford more dirt, I can purchase it and they'll all be set and ready for dirt. But this is $100 of dirt and compost, which may not be a lot of money to everyone, but it is a lot of money to me when I have other things I need to buy as well. So as you can see, these beds are ready to go. I'm going to be planting them up soon. I have a lot of things growing on over here that needs to be planted. So I have the tube sticking up is irrigation. I'll be putting in a drip system for each bed so that they are on automatic water with an on-off switch. That way I can turn on all 12 beds or turn off as many as I'm not using, because especially down here in the south, we can grow a lot of crops in the winter that you may not be able to grow everywhere. And so I want to be able to put some cold weather crops like broccoli or lettuce in these beds, but I probably won't have 12 beds worth of things to plant. So if I only have 2 filled, I want to only be watering 2. In the meantime, I'm still trying to decide on compost or pea gravel for the floor. I am leaning towards compost simply because I think the contrast between the raised beds and compost will be nicer, more contrasting than the pea gravel. The problem is the pea gravel path right now goes to here and then stops. And so if all of this is going to be compost, I need to separate the pea gravel from the compost in some way. I'm not sure how yet. Also working on this area. Need to clean this up. I'm trying to decide. I might plant something here. Planted milkweed here that is struggling in the heat, so it's got a very fancy umbrella. But I might plant something here and then a little swash of something in front of the air conditioner. Need to leave room for maintenance with the air conditioner, and for breathing space as well. But we can plant some things around it. So I was thinking a Rose of Sharon, maybe that gets pretty big right here. And then maybe a little swash of something in front of the milkweed and the air conditioner. But that is definitely not a priority. In front of the shed, though, I finally got my butterfly bushes replaced. So they were really, really, really struggling. Only one was coming back, and it was coming back so slow. And then it just stopped. And I don't know why, because I bought 4, and the 2 in front of my house are doing fabulous, and these 2 were struggling. So I think it's because these 2 I purchased on clearance, and they were already on the struggle bus when I put them in last year. I found 2 new ones for a decent price and figured we're going to give it another go. So we've got our Super Tunia Fuchsia, our Proven Winners Pugster Pinker Butterfly Bush. We've got some Glads and Iris. We've got a Hydrangea over here and a Knockout Rose here. This is all obviously going to be composted in front of the shed. And then the star of the show, I cannot wait to extend this compost down. My Peggy Martin Rose. This is its first year. This is the first time it's bloomed. And you guys, look at all these buds. And this is literally after a couple weeks of these buds. You can see the pink, the darker pink, are the brand new blooms. And they age to kind of a lighter pink and then a white. And this plant is literally just covered in blooms and buds. I need to come back and start weaving some of the branches through again, but you can see it is just, I thought it might take a couple years to cover this fence. I think it's going to do it pretty darn quick, which will be great because I'm trying to hide everything behind it. So I don't know if I'm going to plant anything else in front of this fence. I might plant a few lower things, but the rose is the star. And then eventually I'm going to put a potting bench over here. So potting bench, rose, and then this is going to be a working area. So our milkweed, this is from our milk jugs. I've been growing this from seed, and some is doing better than others. So like this guy in the back, he's pretty happy with his life. His neighbor, less happy. His neighbor over here, less happy still. This guy up front, super happy. So, you know, we grew this all from seed, so whatever lives, we'll be happy with. And this is why I planted groups instead of one plant individually. Hopefully at least one plant in each spot takes off, because one plant by itself can get 30 inches high and 1 to 2 feet wide. So even if only one plant from each group survives, we'll have enough to fill this area. But they were wilting beyond wilting in the heat, so have our little fishy umbrella to help. I also have not put our grow grids back in the beds since I filled them. I think I want to put my drip system in first and then put the grow grids on top instead of the grow grids and then drip on top of it. So planning to do that on Saturday. It's Wednesday today. Let's go around. We need to reweed all of this and take that weed out. And then I think I'm going to be growing clematis and green beans on these this year, since I'm doing watermelon and cucumbers in the raised beds. Some of the strawberries are doing well though. And then we have our Gara, which has put out one tall bloom stalk with a pretty white bloom. Don't know why. Rest are these smaller pink. Ever since this rose decided it was just going to be a climber no matter what I did, put the Gara around the base, and it is, ignore my messy porch because that's also a Saturday project, but It's loving its life much better now that it's a climber, and we will see how it progresses. On the other hand, I had 6 Scarlet in this bed. The other 3 are nowhere to be found, not coming back. They've given up, gone missing. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coneflowers. I had one here that did not make it, but I have lots of coneflower seeds. I have planted the original purple, which I harvested from these plants last year, and white that I purchased from seed, and they are both doing excellent. So we are going to just keep filling this bed with purple coneflowers and the salvia, tall pink salvia that I have in here, that reseeds itself. It is an annual salvia, but it's a heavy, heavy, heavy reseeder. And I pretty much just let it, come up wherever it will. So coneflowers, salvia, done. On the other hand, this swoop is the saddest place in my whole garden right now. My blue and white angel-faced Angelonia is coming back. That's green. But hardly any. And really almost just these 2. There was green on these 3, and now I'm hardly seeing any. So I don't know if they're going to make it. It is a hardy perennial, which means it's not necessarily going to come back every single year. If it doesn't make it, that's okay. I did go ahead and seed some cosmos around here. And so if the Angelonia doesn't come up, hopefully the cosmos will. And if the cosmos doesn't, I'll plant something else. I'm thinking some sweet alyssum in front here. I really want to plant the Proven Winners sweet alyssum in the Snow Princess variety, because it is supposed to come back in our zone. But I have planted across the way some sweet alyssum that I grew from seed. It is doing really well and starting to bloom. But I didn't realize that Snow Princess got 2 to 4 feet wide. And 2 to 4 feet wide will not fit here. I should have put the stuff I grew from seed here, because it stays more compact, and planted the Snow Princess here because it will grow over a rock wall. So I'm trying to decide if it is worth it to move this and hope it doesn't die, because the other one I planted died. I don't know. I'm not sure. I might just plant a Snow Princess here and have our comparison be side to side. That might work. Then we'd have a whole drift of it. But look at this. So you want that vista be beautiful right there with the scrolly bench, the sage. It's Texas sage, which has light pinkish purple blooms, and a rose of Sharon that has white and pink blooms on it. I know. It'll be fabulous. I'm really excited. But before we worry about that, here are some zinnias. These I grew in my milk jugs, and they were looking rough. If y'all have been following along, you know I went on a cruise with Mom last month. Never again going to cruise the first week of spring, because all of my milk jug plants suffered, some more than others. Zinnias were middle of the pack. They look rough, but they're still green. They're still growing. They're still looking okay. I think I need to spray them. I think something's eating on them, and hopefully they will establish. And by the time they get big, none of this at the bottom will matter. But you know what will matter is that my oak leaf hydrangea, where my sad little fish umbrella lived last year because it was wilting, is starting to bloom. I'm so happy, you guys. Oh, look. A ladybug. Ladybugs and blooms. Oh, that makes me very happy. I'm so happy with this plant. We planted 1, 2, 3 shoots from my mom's plant last year. We dug them up, transferred them over here, put an umbrella over them for like 3 weeks, limped it along, loved on it, watered it. It was struggling and it finally took off. It has put out its own shoots, everything here down, and now it's blooming. Finally blooms everywhere. We have 1, 2, 3 big blooms, and it is starting to put out secondary little tiny blooms. So this is going to be a very pretty show next month. We've got some daisies, Gerber daisies, I believe. Not sure. They're pretty. I do think I'm going to cut some of this lamb's ear that's doing so well away so that it doesn't get overcrowded and move it to a new spot. Our Super Tunia Vista bubblegum, first of many, as you guys know. These come back in our zone. And so this guy came back, is blooming, is beautiful, loves its life. They get huge. They're only supposed to get like 2 feet, but they get 3 to 4 feet here. So it will take up this whole corner and spill over just a little bit if it gets enough sun to make itself happy. My Laura Pedlum is out of bloom, but it still has that really pretty burgundy color. Right, Biddy? So it will be pretty till spring when it blooms again. It's almost like a void against this mulch in the camera. You can see just a few remnants of blooms, that pretty pink fuchsia color. And then we have first of our catmints. So I just planted these. I did a whole video on them, and I am so excited to find them. This is the Junior Walker, which gets 18 high. They have these gorgeous light purpley blue blooms, and they are supposed to get 30 inches wide, and they are a perennial. So it should fill in this whole area and come back year after year. Unlike our Cosmos from our milk jugs that look sad. And I seeded some in this area. I think you can see them. They are starting to come up. So I am hoping that maybe the direct seeded ones do better. Typically, Cosmos and Zinnias do great direct seeded. I did some last year. They did fine. But I wanted to put them in the milk jugs to get just a head start on the season. And I don't know if it was successful. The milk jugs were doing great before I left on my cruise. So I don't know. Is this sadness because of the milk jugs or because I was gone for a week and it got up so hot? The week I was gone, it was like 85 almost every day and it was not raining. So my brother did come over and water them like once. And I think they just really suffered. So either way, we did Cosmos here, and then I did a whole swath of short pink zinnias right here. So we will have 3 feet high Cosmos and 2 foot high pink zinnias if all of the seeds come up. I have been watering them, keeping them moist. Cross your fingers. The mums we transplanted from the porch are still doing great. The ones with the giant roots, go watch that video, y'all, because the roots were literally like the entire size of the urn. Like they went all the way down to this bottom part. They filled the entire freaking urn. Not exaggerating. I was so shocked. I could hardly pull it out. And obviously that's why it's so great. Whereas these two, which were in smaller pots, no, this one was in the other urn. They're doing fine. They're just not as good. But I have heard that in our zone, if they bloom early enough in the season, that you can then shear them back and they will bloom again. So I'm not going to let all my mums bloom, but I'm going to let these ones bloom. And we're going to test that out. Then we have some salvia and a walking iris. That's a white. So I bought these purely because I love the white blooms. These were just generic salvia from the store, box store. But you can see they are not supposed to be white. They are supposed to be this beautiful blue. But I just love the white. And so I bought them, hoping to find a third one. I never could, but you can see there's a smidge of blue on that one, a smidge of blue on that one. So I just bought a third blue one. We're just going to call that a little happy blue and white moment. Good enough. Then, growing up on this side, we have glads. We have alliums, drumstick alliums, all these wispy things, which I don't see how those are going to bloom. We'll see. We've got some of our tiger lilies and purple dream lilies coming up that are all intermixed. So 1, 2, 3, 4 groupings. And then foxglove. So if you were here, these foxglove, these 3, I bought from a nursery. They are the Camelot variety. And these little baby ones are the smaller ones from my milk jugs. So when I grew them in my milk jugs, I got a couple different sizes. These I started in January, so they weren't quite as big. These are probably the medium size. So they're doing great. You can see a small one over here. Even the small one's still alive, still growing. So they are also the Camelot variety. So same variety, just started in a greenhouse, started in a milk jug, and I believe these were started in October. And I will tell you why, because I started a bunch in October and they're almost the same size. But only a few of my October ones survived because I didn't realize it was going to get so cold one night and I lost almost all of them. Which is the only reason I had to buy these, because the other ones I started in January are just not as far along. It's fine. They'll bloom. They'll be happy. The Camelot variety of foxgloves bloomed the first and second year. So, another Super Tunia Vista bubblegum. Few pretty impatiens. Oh, I just love this color. It's like blush pink with a little hot pink stripe. I don't know why, but that makes me very happy. Then we have one of our Sarah Bernhardt peonies that's doing really well, and hopefully it will grow. And surprise, surprise, our best alyssum yet. So this is a purple alyssum that I grew in a milk jug, and it is flowering so prettily. So hopefully this just takes off and kills it. Then I have more cosmos. These are the good cosmos. Look at them, just like having 2 leaves each. So good, so brave. And I have seeded a bunch more cosmos in this area. I don't see how these drumstick alliums will ever live. Well, they're alive. I don't see how they'll bloom. And an iris. So from here we have another Laura Pedlum, which this is the same size as when I planted it. It struggled. I transplanted it here from the struggle spot. It's continuing to struggle here. Maybe I'll move it down by the shed in more sun and see if it likes it better there. But I don't love it this close to my knockout rose. And it just never grows. So it's just really stopping me from planting anything else here. I don't know. I don't know about that. Pansies still going, but they'll probably come out soon. Lamb's ear. We've got some glads coming up here and here. And then the star of the show. In its first year of life, it did not bloom, except for what was on it from the nursery. But this year, the wisteria is blooming. It is happy. It has buds everywhere, and I am hoping beyond hope that one day we will have wisteria all the way up this tree. It has made it in 1 year all the way around. Now, this is a non-invasive wisteria. You can go back and watch that video if you want to see the exact type. This is probably invasive, but this is a stick I bought at Tractor Supply. And I thought it was dead. It had no roots, had no leaves. And nope, it's grown. It's a whole tree stick with leaves now. And look, it has 2 whips that I was able to bring all the way up. Don't know if it's invasive or not, but I'm not going to be here forever. So I figure might as well make all our mistakes here. So the non-invasive wisteria is here and is going this way. And this tree stick is here and is going this way. And hopefully they will just cover and grow and be happy little clams. If you are unsure of the type of your wisteria, if it has short, little, half-size, tiny, adorable blooms like this, it is non-invasive. If it has a traditional, long, weeping stem, it is invasive. At least that is what the gentleman at the nursery told me. We have a matching foxglove and lily swoop, much bigger on this side of the tree. And this foxglove right here, I personally grew in a milk jug from October. And so no greenhouse, no grow lights, no nothing special, in a milk jug. So hopefully next year I will watch the weather. And if it is going to freeze, it literally got down to 0 degrees, I can just move them into the shed for a night. I wasn't paying attention. All right. More daisies. Supertunia. We've got some agapanthus. We've got pansies underseeded with 2-foot zinnias. This whole front is zinnias. And here, the star of the show for the last month, 2 months, my new favorite thing in the planet, ranunculus. They're just going out of bloom, so we only have a few left. But oh, they're so pretty. They're so pretty. They're so pretty. You can see we have some buds left, so they're not 100% done. But we have a whole swoop of corms right here. And in my zone, I do not have to dig them up. They can stay in the ground. They will multiply. The foliage will die back as the zinnias come up. And then next summer, or next fall, really, they start blooming in February here. They will be up and bigger and better and more. We will be very excited. We are back around to our Daedalus, but I wanted to show you my pincushion plants. So these are your traditional, just purplish blue pincushions. Not sure if they're variety type, but I planted 3 of them last year. So they are a perennial. And this one is obviously the best. He's their leader. Middle bear, baby bear. But this guy has already doubled in size for the season. And last year they did not bloom once. I thought for sure something was awfully wrong with them. And this year you can see they are covered in blooms. So if they ever grow together, I put them whatever the distance apart they're supposed to be is. I put them that distance, and it seems really far. Last year, Betsy thought it was a good idea to put a lamb's ear in the middle of them instead of letting them grow together because I didn't think they were ever going to grow. So we'll see. If they ever get big enough to grow together, we will move the lamb's ear. But you can see right here, it's where the swoosh of foxglove starts, and then it takes off up the hill, around here, and around here. I love this wisteria so much. So much. Hydrangea. I am going to be planting some coneflowers that are still growing right in here. And then right through here, I'm thinking starting here, swooping down, going down, wherever that alyssum doesn't come in, I have that pink annual salvia. I planted this whole field with it last year because it's free and I had a whole bunch of it. And so I'm hoping it's reseeding in here, and I will just pull everything I don't want and leave it right in here wherever the alyssum does not grow. Done. Coneflower, alyssum, salvia. This raised bed we just put together last year, and it is really like coming into its own. The crepe myrtle we planted last year is still tall, and look at that. It's going to be a while. I think this is a mid-season to late season bloomer, but it's that purple magic, and it is beautiful burgundy colored. It has light purple, lavender, lilac colored blooms. I cannot wait. I'm so excited. I'm sorry. I say I'm so excited a lot, but honestly, I really am. This makes me so happy. You know what else makes me happy is I just got this long shell wind chimes on the last cruise I went to. It was in Bonaire, and I'm hoping makes more noise because the little angelfish one I had there sounds beautiful, but very rarely makes noise, as opposed to this guy that sounds great and is always blowing. I don't think the shells are going to make that much more noise than the other one did, but at least they're long. Look better. So now we are on to my next favorite part of the garden, which is the front. So we have glads coming up in the back with the Nandina. We have my best swash of lamb's ear ever. Loving their life. We have a endless summer hydrangea. We have homestead verbena. This was the very first thing to put off a bloom in my garden this year, which was shocking. It is a perennial verbena, so it comes back and it is just covered in buds and blooms. I planted it down here, and it is the type of plant that put off runners and then will root in. So it went from down here, rooted in here, rooted in here. So I could really cut the runner, dig up the roots here, and move this to another place. But I kind of like how it's stretching out, and I think as long as it doesn't interfere with anything, I'm just going to let it keep doing its thing, the front of this garden bed. I just planted 2 more of these catmints, which I am going to have to pull these pansies sooner rather than later to let the catmint breathe. But I didn't want to do it this week when I was filming this garden tour and they were still blooming. So right now you have pansies and catmint. Interesting. It's a style. Then we have our second swath of foxgloves. This is just foxgloves, no lilies. I will interplant this with Proven Winners Truffle Pink Gumprina in May. And so as the foxglove die back, the Gumprina will take over. I did a whole video on how I love to interplant those 2 things. But for now, foxglove. So you can see one eye grew, one eye grew, one eye grew, one eye grew, one eye grew. Yes, I'm very proud. So mine kind of went like this, not intentionally, but then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I purchased. So they're all camelots. They should all bloom this year. They should be a beautiful show of foxgloves behind this bird bath. And for some reason, of all the ranunculus, like you can see foliage, there's a whole swath of it right through here. Only this one's blooming. There is a bud on this one, but a little tiny baby one. nothing like, well, bam, this one. Who knows? On the other hand, my one ornamental poppy that I planted in a milk jug, I planted 5 milk jugs with 5 seeds each. I got 1 plant, and it is huge now. And it is just starting to put out a bunch of buds. It has bloomed twice for us so far, and they are a beautiful salmony color with a dark center. I will put some footage right here of the blooms because I've only had 2 blooms. And they were both, like, they bloomed in a rainstorm. And then they were extra fragile, and they went away, like, that day. So, I don't know. Tell me down below. Do poppies blooms only last a day? Because I thought they were supposed to last longer. I think it was a rainstorm problem, not a poppy problem. We'll see. You can see there's more buds. I'm excited either way. But that brings us to the front porch. So, I just planted Lantana. I am so excited. I could not decide between the yellow and pink Lantana or the pink, pink, pink with just a smidge of yellow Lantana. And I decided on the yellow and pink because that's all they had. And I am so excited that they basically forced me into this decision because you know your girl, I would have picked the pink, pink. And I think this was the right decision because I plant almost, if it comes in pink, that's my go-to default option. And Biddy, don't walk through that lamb's ear. Back up. Biddy, don't be stubborn on camera. Come on. There we go. Good girl. So excited. And I will show you why down the way. But these are gorgeous with the Super Tunia Vista bubblegums. As the perfect combination of pink and yellow. And I don't think we would have had that same moment with the pink Lantana. We would have just had pink on pink. So, super excited. These get huge, 36 wide. Honestly, you know, it could have just done 1 in the middle, and it would have almost filled the whole space. It would have been like a little short. But I planted 2 Super Tunias here last year, thinking they'd overfill the space. Planted 1 here last year, and it overfilled the space. The 2 here just died. The Vinca I put here just died. Like, the lamb's ear are just dying. I'm pretty sure we know why. Biddy thinks this is her own personal path. So I put 3 very robust plants. I'm hoping they can live up to her. But I think what I'm going to do is plant a whole swath of tall coneflowers back here instead of the lamb's ear. As much as I love the lamb's ear, I love it when it's this. I don't love it when it's this. So I need to do something to stop her from going under the porch this way. She can get under the porch that way. She can get under it that way. I'm this close to putting chicken wire across the whole thing to keep her out. And maybe that'll save it. I don't want to do that, but might have to. If I can't keep her out of here. She goes in this way and she comes out this way. I know it's shady under there, but come on. You have 3 access points. Use any of the 2 without flowers. Here's my sage. I cannot wait to be able to plant this. It has this beautiful, like, silvery green foliage. And it had a bunch of buds when I got it. So I don't know. I don't think it loves this spot. But this is where the water is. It's hooked into my drip. And then, I'm not going to take you up on the porch because it's a mess. But another drip stealer. My Rose of Sharon. It's going to be beautiful together. Summer container coming soon. Don't look at the messy porch. Don't look at the messy porch. Don't look at the messy porch. Just look at the fuchsia. Is that not amazing? Don't worry, I'll clean the porch eventually. All right. Window boxes. The Super Tunias all coming back. Except for this one. Why? We don't know. And the coreopsis is coming back, which I thought was an annual. I'll take it. I think I finally got my drainage under control, so I'm going to try mulching to the house this year. We've already mulched the front of the garden, but I'm going to mulch the back. We may regret that. Lamb's ear. This is a lace cap hydrangea, and it is already putting out buds. I cannot wait. This is a beautiful pink one, and it blooms the first of all my hydrangeas. So, can't wait. These pansies are about to come out. I just had to pull a whole ring around the supertunia because it's getting bigger. It will probably take up most of this space. The hydrangea will come out to here, and then the supertunia will fill in a lot of this. From here, we have pink mist pincushion flowers. So these are a little different from the others. The blooms are bigger and a little pinker, but you can see instead of one single stem, they kind of branch. They're very wispy and fairy-like. I like it. It's different. From here, I have brand new, still need to deadhead them, April night salvia. Looks like one laid down, so maybe we need to deadhead him altogether. But this is a perennial salvia, and he probably needs more space, but I want it to fill in this whole area, and that's the area I had. So there you go. Barbara Mitchell daylily, which still hasn't bloomed for me. This will be its 3rd year, so girl, you gotta do something or you got to go. I moved her last year from the shade down to the sun. So last year I'm giving her a break, transplant break. You know they don't like to bloom when you transplant them. This year, been in the ground all year, Barbara. Get it together. Go big or go home to the compost pile. All right. Coneflowers are already putting out buds. They can stay. You're safe. Don't worry. From here, one of my pink pentas, that's an annual, coming back. Other 2 aren't. Down the way, more coming back. So I think I might buy another couple to pop in here to go with that one. We've got a foxglove coming back. We've got some iris. Another foxglove coming back. Glads. My big Laura pedlums. See, these are the ones that loved their life. The other ones don't. Knockout rose kind of going out and knocking. Got to come deadhead it. Then we've got 1, 2 catmints. Got ranunculus going out of style. Foxgloves. My other homestead verbena. So I planted this at the same time as the one down there. And while it's the MVP, this one's just starting to put out buds. So it's also like minuscule compared to the beast down there. So just never know what's going to love what spot. From here, we've got more lamb's ear. We've got one of my good butterfly bushes. I just cut this baby back and look at that. It is putting out buds. Oh my God, it's putting out buds. Oh my God, it's putting out buds. I cut this back 3 days ago. Oh, that's so exciting. You guys don't even understand. Walking iris here, which last year bloomed like up here. It's supposed to be tall. Why is it short now? It died back to the ground in winter, and now it's coming up short. I don't know. Iris, knockout, swath of raspberry cream gomphrena that I grew from seed, and they're just starting to put on buds. And these are supposed to fill out, branch out, leaf out, do their thing without needing pinched or deadheaded. So we'll see. From here, we have my favorite moment in the entire garden at the moment, which is the Lantana with the super petunias. See what I mean about that color? Like, if we'd gotten the pink on pink Lantana, I don't think we'd have that. So the ranunculuses are going down, and the super petunia, queen of the garden, is coming up. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that fill in this whole area. And they're coming back from last year, you guys. Like, it's amazing. The other amazing thing, Camelot foxgloves in their second year. Already putting on bloom stalks. Hallelujah. Another lantana. Got some blue salvia. Our other butterfly bush. Are you putting on buds, little butterfly bush? Little tiny ones, but not as good as the other one. Hey, your sister has it together. What's your deal? Saucy wine salvia. This baby's supposed to get 30 by 30. So I am hoping she fills in right here and gives us some of that pretty burgundy color that we have down below with the loropetalum, because the Nandina back here are great and they give us great red all through the winter, which I love. They're still really small, and they're just not the same as the loropetalum. So I'm hoping this will be a good mix. Then foxglove, and patience. I love them. They're so sweet. They're so little. You know what else I'm not impatient about? These zinnias. I planted a whole swath of them, and they are just like, do you see that? No, of course you don't, because it's like non-existent. I'm not sure they're going to live. They look so sad. So I went ahead and direct seeded a whole swath of them as well. Hopefully either the plants or the direct seeds will take off. But these are that same 2-foot high pink zinnia that I planted 2 other places. From here, our peonies are doing fabulous. Our one truffula pink gomphrena that came back is right here. Mom's all came back, and I had one come back. But peony, lupin. Then, the most exciting part of this tree, not the foxtail ferns that are starting to come in, not the fabulous peony that's starting to peony, not the pretty pink cyclamen that is still putting off blooms. No. All of the tubers, the purple tubers we planted, are starting to pop up little tiny berry-like blooms. So you might remember we planted 2 pink cyclamen and then 6 purple tubers. 6 purple tubers, 2 pink cyclamen. 6 purple tubers. And this goes all the way down to here. So cyclamen around the whole tree. Now there are different types of cyclamen. So the pink ones are just going out of bloom now. The purple ones are going to start coming in bloom. Then the pink ones will come back next fall. Technically, I think they will both bloom through the fall. I don't know if the purple ones will make it through the winter, whereas the pink ones should bloom all winter. They're interesting because, unlike most plants that put up their leaves first, gather sunlight, and then form blooms, cyclamen pop up their bloom stalks first and then form leaves. Once they form their leaves, though, the leaves will stay. So even once our pretty pink cyclamens are done for the season, those really gorgeous ivy-like leaves will stay and be kind of a ground cover. So once this whole tree ring is established, we will have a whole swath of pretty ivy leaves that every every couple months have a different color bloom. I'm just like, why did we not do this sooner? I have literally planted so many things here. Like, look at this begonia. I planted like 30 begonia here the last 2 years. Literally a whole swath of begonia. 2 years in a row. 2 different swaths. This one came back, which is ridiculous because they all died last year. How does a dead plant come back, begonia? So, either way, the peony will come up once they are established every spring and bloom those beautiful peony blooms in the spring. The lupins will bloom in the spring. Cyclamen will bloom in the fall and winter. And the foxtail ferns, if we don't have a hard freeze, like we did this year, will stay evergreen. So these 2 have already started coming back. They get the most sun, but we have 1, 2, 3 foxtail ferns here. There's another one over here somewhere. If they don't come back, I will replace them because, I mean, that's a great texture down here and it will stay. From there, we have peonies coming up. Peony, lupin, peony, hydrangea. This little guy is the same as our giant one down in front of the foxglove. Planted them the exact same time. They were the same size. That one loves its life, and this one loves life, but not as much. So we'll see. I like it here, but I could easily take it out, put it somewhere it will get bigger, and replace it with like a bleeding heart or something that will like the shade a lot more. So I don't know. We have a hibiscus. This is supposed to be ballet slippers. No, this is supposed to be Candy Crush, and it's ballet slippers. Got the wrong kind. It has bloomed 1 time for me in its entire life because it probably doesn't like a spot. It's too shady down here, but I wanted it so bad I planted it, and then it was the wrong color. That's iris. And last but not least, my clearance Vitek. So I bought this Vitex and the 2 Pugster Pinker butterfly bushes on the clearance rack at the same time, all on clearance. This Vitex is obviously not that worried about it, where the other 2 gave up the ghost. So I'm very excited to see blooms on this. I love the leaves at least, but the goal is that it gets about 20 feet wide at maturity. So I want it to just fill in this corner, 20 feet high and wide. And I just want it to kind of soften this edge so that we don't see all this. Because I can't continue the garden any further. And eventually my long guy will clear all these leaves. He finally cleared the huge pile over there. But that's it. The garden for April. I love that we finally have blooms. We finally have color. We are getting, the starts of what this garden is going to look like this year. And first they sleep, then they creep, then they leap. We're in year 3, babies. So I'm expecting big things from this garden. Now, I don't know if that's likely. And there are some areas like around the tree or like the raised beds that we're just kind of doing this year. So they're not on year 3. But I'm talking about the front of this garden, around the corner to the fire pit. I want those plants to do amazing because they deserve it. And so do I. I've worked hard. But I'm very, very, very excited that a lot of the things that we've put time and energy and love into over the last couple of years are finally blooming and coming in. And I'm just really excited to see what this looks like even next month. So I will see y'all later. If you want to go back to last month and see what it looked like, I will leave last month's garden tour right here.